What's up? What's up? This is your girl. This is Tia. And Dot. Tia's over there. I'm right here. How y'all doing? If y'all do not know me, I am Dr. Lisa. I run this channel as well as Tia. She's on the other side of it. You probably never see her face because she don't want it seen. However, you'll see mine. And I'm not going to lie. I didn't want to be on the camera at first either. But we're coming back with your boy Diddy. I told you I was going to drop a video every day about Diddy. They had Kid Cudi up there. I think that's they say his name. They say, he a rapper. Was he a rapper or actress? I don't know. But he's supposed to be in the industry. Let's just say he's in the industry. And apparently, when Cassie decided to break from Diddy, she went to him. And when she found out, Diddy found out, she called him and told him. Allegedly, he went and picked her up and they went to some hotel, thought they'll be safe. The dog sitter supposedly called him and told him that, I guess Diddy was there. Well, apparently they broke in his house, opened some gifts or something, but they did something to the dog. And the dog is able to roam, but they locked the dog, I think they said in the bathroom, but he said he did something to the dog because the dog would never write again. Now, don't y'all tell nobody. I don't know. Somebody asked me the question, and I asked Tia. You don't think you screwed the dog, do you? Somebody asked me that question. And then I asked Tia, and she said, I don't know. I said, but what they're saying about him, he'll screw anything. I'm just saying, this is allegedly. All this stuff is for entertainment. You can't come on here and say that I said anything. I told you, somebody asked me that question. I don't know the answer to it. I don't know this man. I didn't even know this man before this trial came up in them ages. I never knew him. I don't get into music. Tell you that. But I do know that they said a dog didn't get right. It was a little bulldog, wasn't it? But what would he do to the dog? I don't care for animal, but I ain't finna hurt him. But they said that, he said his dog wasn't right. And then they said they used some type of Molly cocktail where they put a hole in the top of his Porsche and put the drink in there. And they say they torched the Porsche. And apparently he did all of this over Cassie Couture. She had a thing with Kid Cudi, they say now. But Kid Cudi came in, I don't know, was it a cigarette or vapor? Well, before he went on in that child, he went on in there and he told it. And, and they were saying that if Diddy get off, Cassie may need to go into hiding. But the personal assistant, he told a lot of stuff. Diddy was freaky to only have a Tootsie Roll, wasn't he? That's what they say. Nancy Grace had a Tootsie Roll. I asked Tia, we have any? She said, no. I said, just for visual, we got to pick up one and show y'all how a Tootsie Roll is and how they say he is. Now, how you going to be out here directing folks to do this, being a macho man with a Tootsie Roll? Maybe that's his problem. But what I'm hearing, he's addicted. He's addicted to opiates and everything else. And he would get these drugs in other people's name. It's some weird people. Because I'd be darned if anybody finna get some drugs in my name. Do you know that everything that you get from your pharmacy, they can look it up? You out here letting folk get Xanax, didn't they say Xanax? Viagra, Cialis. What's the other stuff? Prescription. See, Exodus and all that stuff, I think that's street stuff. Then they say Percocets. I think Percocet is a prescribed drug. They say he had everything. They say he had the morning after pill. That's what they say. They said just for men, that's that color in your hair, I ain't going to say nothing about that, He want to look young or whatever. But you know what? Did it remind me, what that actress name that played in New Jack City? Nino. I don't know his real name now. What's his real name, that actress? It was Nino Brown in New Jack City. Was that Wesley? I don't know who it was, but y'all know the point I'm trying to make. Is that when you think that you high on the hog, Wesley Snipes, Tia just told me. He was in the New Jack City. And y'all know how he, and they call him Nino Brown. He owned the place, had $1 million operations going on, and his good friend let a guy in, which actually let the authorities in. See, you always have to be careful with a person that has a drug issue. Put them on a lot of drugs, they regain that issue. That's just how it is. You got to get away from it. You can't stay around it because you become a part of it. That's just like if you're trying to turn your life around and not do bad things, you can't hang around bad people. You can't. And Diddy was a monster. To torch that man's car, break into his apartment and whatever. All because of a woman didn't want him anymore. And then the sad thing about it is all of these people stood by and let this stuff happen. And it makes sense what Tia said. Those people looking at money, they weren't really caring about those people. And it's true. And then people want to blame everything on Cassie. Diddy was the monster. He's evil. And people say, okay, he'll get out. He might get out, but he ain't going to have no money. Child, the state will strip him for everything. The state, the Fed, they will strip him now to where he's a poor man because think about how much money he's spending on these lawyers. And ain't nobody out there. I don't see none of the kids out there doing anything. Do they have any talent? Or are they living off of daddy money? And people love to say they're going to show up. I said this in the other video. Yeah, they show up. You don't want to cut off the resources. But apparently can't nobody have done my mama that way. And I'm rocking with them. That's just me. That's my opinion. I'm not going to do that. And just more testimony is coming. I think an agent was there. And they said, why so many people? Well, they thought they was going to be, they were going to be, actually shot back at or whatever. Anytime they're not certain what they're going to find, they're going to have more reinforcement. So if it had been a pow thing, they were going to be ready to go. That's why. When they go in and they raid a house, don't you know they ready? They ready for anything. Honey, they got backup behind the backup. I told you I'm married to the law now. Who's on several task force. Yeah, you may get the first ones to come in, but you got more coming in behind them. Yeah, you do. And dating somebody and marrying somebody that does that all the time, I quickly, after a year, changed my major. Quickly. It wasn't for me. I said, this criminal justice is not for me. I'm going to go over here to psychology and sociology and try to work with the mind. Because this right here, no. I'm just saying. They went in there, expecting whatever, and you have to do that. And now it's so many people that appears to be against the law. You don't know what you're walking into. You really don't. Even walking out of your house, you don't know what you're walking into. And people like to say they don't come like that. Yes, they do. They come strong. I remember an older guy where I was doing a short-term gig somewhere in another part of Georgia. And, me and the older man, we, got really friendly. It's something about older people that I gravitate towards them. I really do. And every so often, he had a granddaughter. Because one had a grandson. He had a granddaughter to come visit him. But she was always kind of iffy to me. Always iffy. And one night when I was coming home, I saw, you know, people that looked like they was in trees. They looked like they were hiding behind branches. I mean, it was just kind of crazy. And so I said, I know that's a person. So you know me, the nosy dog takes my flashlight and shine it on him and saw the agent with the gun. I said, oh shit. and took the flashlight off immediately. And I guess they said, this, they probably said, this dumbass, she done did this. And they just rushed. There was about 20, 30 coming from all directions to the older man's house. And I said, leave him alone. He ain't done nothing. Y'all can just imagine that I wasn't thinking. I was in the moment. I knew better than that. I really did. And so she wasn't there. And one of them did say, ma'am, please go back in your house. No, please go in your house. Very calmly. I said, when I find out, is the man okay? They said, there's nothing wrong with him. Please go back into your house. And, please go in your house. Because I hadn't even got out of the truck. So I did go in the house. And then I called him. And he wasn't answering. So I just kept calling. And then finally, he answered. He said, I'm going to call you back. The law here. I said, I see them. They everywhere. And he was like, everything going to be all right. So, of course, once they left, he came over and told me why they was there. And I said, I knew someone right about her. I said, but I'm sorry to hear that. I'm sorry that, And he said, it scared me to death. I almost had a heart attack. But wherever they think you'll go, they going to go. And like I said, I wasn't thinking, because I wouldn't have done any of that. But I wasn't thinking. I was just thinking about that's the old man. He see all of this. He might have a heart attack. But I said all that to say this. They have a way to come get you. And they're doing everything around that town, looking at those cameras. And something gonna shake. It is. Something gonna shake. And when I say the cameras, I'm talking about when they look all around. Did it? Because they ain't stopped looking now. They still looking for stuff. And so that's how I can imagine how they went in. I know y'all probably thought I switched over to what was happening in Louisiana, but no, I'm talking about around his house or anything around there. Anybody else who had cameras or whatever. I'm sure they don't seize those tapes. Y'all, this is your girl, The Dog, and Tia. And we're out on this video, and we're going to drop a video every night about Diddy. It's too good not to. We'll see you on the next video.